Good day, Chief here for Chief Tales Tales. Yes, it's been a while. Today I'm going to talk about rocks, but I'm not talking about the rocks in my head. A lot of service members collect items from wherever they go, it seems like, be it souvenirs, photographs, and taking pictures with the logos. I've seen that too. I collected rocks. I didn't collect rocks from every place I've been. It started in my first place, which was Berlin. I was trying to steal some street blocks, but I wasn't going to dig them up, and I found some bricks, or they're street bricks or sidewalk bricks. I thought I found some, but they weren't. They didn't interlock, so I just eventually got rid of those things. And then my next assignment was, of course, Fort Riley, Kansas, where I went to Desert Shield and Storm. But starting in basic training and at Fort Riley, remember when Tabasco sauce used to come in a container like this instead of the unique shape of the same as the major bottle comes in? I don't know if it's still trying to focus on me or that, but that's the comparison. So I was getting these because it has a bigger hole, and I had collected some sand from Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. And when I came back home from the Gulf War, my mom says, "Oh, did you get any sand?" And I go, "Well, I want some sand from the Holy Land." I said, "Mom, I really wasn't in the Holy Land. I was on the almost hundreds of miles away." But, however, I did collect all these. Now, most of these are very smooth, probably due to the being blown around by the sand, but they're just some really odd shapes here. I mean, that one could be part of a bone or something. That's the way it looks. But I do have a couple rough ones. Now, this one's really interesting. I don't know if it's going to focus in on it or keep focusing in on me. Yeah, I'm still trying to focus on my forehead as I look. But it looks like a paw with claws, so to speak. And if you can see inside, which you probably won't show, but there are like ring-shaped protrusions, or whatever you want to call them. Could that have been bone? I don't know. But I don't know a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-toed creature, because that's about how many there are in there. And this one's odd. It's not worn smooth. It's not concentrical. It really doesn't have a flat side except on the inside, so I guess maybe it broke apart. I have no idea. Nice round white one. And here's another one. It's just a hunk. It's somewhat smooth, but there's still a lot of roughness to it. And got a nice green one. No, it's not jade. I don't think jade comes from Saudi Arabia. I'd have to look. And then there's another rough one, but this one's multicolored. It's brown on the bottom and more of a red, and then in the middle of it, it's got like another brown line, and then it goes back to the red, so I have no idea. And from up above, I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like it's also like a foot or a moccasin, so to speak. So those are my crazy rocks from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Iraq. Where I picked these up, I have no idea. Someone's going to come at me and say, "Oh, where'd you find these?" Throughout the desert. What can I say? So then I went to Hawaii after leaving Fort Riley, and one of my fellow soldiers said, "Hey, you want to go to this private beach?" I'm like, "You joined a club?" He goes, No. He says, I drive up north. I drive up the coast, meaning he drives up the coast. And we got on two-lane blacktop, finally, where I met him someplace, and then I followed him. And we were on two-lane blacktop at the tail end of it, and then all of a sudden it became a dirt road, and then off to the right side of the road was a range for helicopters to fire their weapons, which I did not know existed in Hawaii. And nice beach. Maybe one out of every 20 waves was really rough. And went there several times by myself with other people I introduced to it, and they're all like, "Yeah, this is nice." Because most of the time I went, if there were 24 of us on this beach, that was a crowd. And this beach was good quarter-mile long, so to speak. And part of it was nice gentle slope out into the ocean, and then the other part was nice gentle slope, and then whoops, drop off. And that's crystal clear water turning blue and all that. It's funny how water is blue, but we are the big blue marble. So one of my excursions out there, I was walking along and saw this guy, but he was sitting on top of another rock, so to speak. But then I went, why is he flat? Why is he worn smooth on one side? Because he was sitting up like this. I guess he got worn smooth so he could sit like this. I picked him up, I looked at him, and of course water gushed. There's multiple holes, tiny holes, big holes. I don't know what it's exactly the composition of this rock is. It looks like sand compressed to me. I took it home and it started to stink, of course, so I put it in the bathtub for a couple days, rinsed it out, scrubbed it with a brush, and it smells better. But it's a doorstop and a talking piece. People have asked when I had it displayed downstairs on my fireplace, what's that? A rock from Hawaii. And they're like, oh, okay. Let's see, what do we got left? I went to a deployment on one of my locations when I first became a warrant officer. I think everything else is from my warrant officer age. That was all enlisted. I got assigned to a unit up at Fort Lewis, and a tasking came down for my pay grade and my MOS. So I took it, and my command was really upset. Well, where I was at, I really can't say, but I was in Sarajevo, that's all I can say. I don't know if I talked about it, but this brick came from a very sad place, and I didn't think about it at the time, how sad this brick probably is, because it came from a execution site where the I can't even say who the bad guys were. I guess the Bosniaks, I don't remember. It's been a while since that war happened, but they would take Muslims up to the restaurant and would kill them, and or do other things if they were female, and then kill them. And they put all these boxes, a square box, and then with four lines in it. So you got 8 lines altogether. Each of those lines represented 4 people. So that box represented 32 people that were executed. And there were lots of those boxes. I haven't had nightmares or anything else because I did not steal lava from Hawaii. I stole another rock. And the locals will tell you, yeah, a lot of you crazy Americans, you come here and they're Americans too, but they mean as armed forces members mostly. They take lava, which is sacred to the goddess Pele over there, and they said a lot of people will have misfortune and they will ship that lava back and say, put it back on the ground somewhere, and then supposedly their misfortune will go away. I had a young lieutenant, I was enlisted at the time, I had a young lieutenant. He went to the Big Island with his wife, and he came back and he had like a chunk of lava like this, he said it sprouted out of the lava flow, like a hole opened up, and he said it just shot up and then it went black immediately. He said he waited a while. I don't know how long a while was, considering that thing was just lava not too long ago. And he went over and kicked it. And don't know how he picked it up. I never really did get that story, but somehow he brought it back and he had it on his desk, and I told him, I said, you don't know about the curse? He goes, I was a sergeant. He goes, no, Sergeant, what are you talking about? So I told him about, Pele doesn't like you taking lava away from Hawaii. you'll get bad luck when you return to stateside or wherever else you go next. And I said, then you'll be shipping it back to Hawaii. And he just laughed at me. So I don't know if that ever happened to him or not. And then my next bed of rocks is from, or my big rock, my heaviest rock is from Korea. Now, I had a contractor that worked for me. Seriously, he worked for me and I had to rate him and all that. He came at me, he says, oh yeah, you got to rate me, but don't worry about it. No one's been doing them for 18 months. And sure as you know what, next following month he says, oh chief, you got to start doing my evaluations, my ratings. And I said, well, okay, just give me a slip of paper, tell me what you did for me for the month, and that's what your rating is. So all the greater share of the contractors over there are bikers. They got the money, so they all buy Harley Davidsons. So he came at me one day and he says, hey, you want to go on a bike run? I said, I don't have a motorcycle, and it's been a while since I've been on a motorcycle. And he's like, oh, don't worry about that. You're going to drive the chase vehicle. This thing weighs a ton. I said, okay. He says, oh yeah, my wife and some other guy's wife will be in there. Okay. They're both Koreans. Okay. Neither one speaks English. Okay. But they'll point you where you need to turn. They know where to go. So we went there. It was a weekend affair. Got permission from my ace chief, and he said, sure, no problem. Just put in a pass form, and at least we'll know where you're at. So I did that. So we were on the Yellow Sea. Now, Yellow Sea is on the west coast of South Korea. So got to go to a different sea, so to speak. So I walking along the beach. A lot of Koreans out there were, I guess, called crabbing for seafood for kimchi that night. So found this big thing lying on this side. This was lying flat again, and just sitting there by itself. And it weighs a lot. It is dense. And so I picked it up. I'm like, well, you belong to me now. And for the longest time, it had a crack. And then one day while I was cleaning, and I picked it up, and part of it fell off where the crack was. There's still more of a crack, but not very big. So still fits in place there. Like I said, this thing weighs a lot. If I drop it on my toe, I'll probably break my toes. Yeah, just hit my box of rocks from Gulf War. Last but not least is when I was my last tour in Germany, I went to the Normandy beachhead, and if it wasn't for the busload of British people there, I couldn't believe how rude the French were. Seriously, I've never got piss poor treatment in my life. Well, I went to the Normandy beachhead. Of course, went to Omaha Beach because that's where the Big Red won. I'm a bro, Big Red won, and so I picked up 3 pebbles, good-sized pebbles, been washed by the sea and the sand and nice and smooth, but not shiny like a lot of the rocks from Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. So I picked these up. So that's my memento from Omaha Beach. But while I was there, they have a wall built along the road, so if the ocean does get angry, or the channel, because it is the channel, if the channel gets angry, it won't wash away the road, hopefully. So I was going down the road, just walking down, observing the beach, and I heard someone shoveling. And this guy pops over the wall looking at me. He has a shovel in his hand, and I went over to him, and he's like, no, don't come over here. And he had like several buckets. And I was like, okay, he's digging up sand from Omaha Beach. What's he gonna do with this? Sell it to his friends? Try to make a profit? So this is Chief. Been a while. This is my rock collection, not these. You know what to do. Freedom's not free. Chief out.